Hi everyone, it's Dr. H. Happy Wednesday hump day. Today's math is very straightforward. We are just adding fractions with mixed numbers and subtracting fractions. That's it. That's all we're doing today. So there are a couple rules that you have to remember when you're dealing with fractions. The first thing, or adding and subtracting fractions. The first thing is that the denominator, this number here, has to be the same over here. You cannot simply on number 2 add 4 plus 8 equals 12. That's not going to work. All right? The second rule is if you change the bottom, you have to change the top. So don't forget, if you were to make the bottom a new number, the denominator a new number, you'll have to make the numerator a new number. And we're going to do that together. So let me get a new page. And we're going to do number 5 together. Now, there are 2 ways that you can do this problem. And one is the mad way, and the other is the happy way. Just kidding. The other is the not the mad way. So if we're doing the mad way, you would multiply 2 times 4 and then add 3. So you would say 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11, and you'd have 11 over 4, and then you'd add it to 2/3 again, and you'd have to find that common denominator and work through it. I find that your numbers get really big when you do it that way. So I don't. So I'm going to show you the way that I do it. Okay? And always, you can search a Khan Academy video and learn how to do it the mad way if you want. So 2 3/4 plus 2/3. Well, I know that my denominators are not the same. So I'm going to need to make them the same. So 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 4 is 12. Oh, look, I have common denominators. So now I can rewrite my problem with those common denominators. Now I changed the bottom, which means I have to change the top. So 1, 2, 3, I multiplied the 4 times 3, so I have to multiply the 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I multiplied 1, 2, 3, 4. The 3 times 4 to get 12, so I have to multiply the 2 times 4 to get 8. So now I have the problem I need to solve. So when I solve this problem, the 2 is not being added to any whole number, so it stays 2. And I'm adding 9 plus 8, and I'm going to get 17 over 12. Now, no, I cannot leave my problem like that. You probably were saying, we're not done, Dr. H. We have to reduce this or simplify it so it's in its proper form. You're right, guys, we do. I could draw out 17 divided by 12, but I know 12 goes into 17 one time. I mean, I don't really need to draw that out to solve that problem. So my new, if I subtract 12 from 17, I get 5. And since I took 12 out, that's a whole. 12/12 is a whole. That 2 is plus 1 becomes a 3. Okay? Because I took 12 from here, that's 1. 12/12 is 1. I'm going to add it to the 2 to make 3. So that is my answer. Let's look at number 6 and do another one so that we feel comfortable. All right. 2 3/4 plus 5, 6. Again, I don't have common denominators, and I need to. So I've got a 4 and a 6. 4 times 1 is 4. 6 times 1 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. Well, look at that. I've got a common denominator already. A lot of you might be tempted to just multiply 4 times 6. If you do that, it's going to be a lot more math in the end. All right, so I've got my 2, and I know my 2 new denominators are 12. Whatever I did to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 4 times 3, 1, 2, 3, means I have to do 3 times 3. So that's 9. 6 times 2 is 12. 5 times 2 is 10. So my new problem is 2 and 9 twelfths plus 10 twelfths. So now it makes it pretty easy for us to solve, and you know we're going to have to reduce or simplify. So 2, and there's nothing here, there's no whole number, so I'm going to keep the 2. I'm going to keep my 12 denominator. 9 plus 10 is 19. Now you know that I have now an improper fraction. So I am going to make this a proper fraction. So I know my denominator. Sorry about that. It says I'm offline, but it says that periodically, and I know I'm not. My denominator is 12. And again, normally I could just divide. 12 goes into 19. But we know it only goes in once. So I'm going to subtract 12 from this number. That's a whole, right? That's this. So 19 minus 12 is 7. Because I subtracted 12, that's a whole. 12 over 12 is a whole. I'm going to add that to my 2, and I'm going to get 3. So the answer to number 6 is 3 and 7 twelfths. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, talk to me during the 9 to 1 period where I'm online, or do a Khan Academy video. So let's take a look at our subtraction. All right, well, this should be fairly simple because we're doing the same thing we did above, only subtracting. So don't forget we have to have a common denominator. So let's take a look at number 8 because that's not as straightforward. So I have 1, sorry about that, I didn't choose my brush, 1/2 minus 2 fifths. 1/2 minus 2 fifths. So I can draw my line and say 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10. Could go over to this side. 5 times 5 is 1, 5 times 2 is 10, and I know I have my common denominator. You might be able to easily do that one in your head. You could have also multiplied 2 times 5, but you might not know that that's the lowest common denominator unless you worked it out in your chart. So now I know that my new denominator is 10, and that whatever I did to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gave me my 10. So I'm going to multiply my 1 times 5. 1 times 5 is 5. I multiplied my 5 times 2 to get 10. So I have to multiply my 2 times 2, and I get 4. Well, now I can subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. 10 doesn't change because it's a denominator, and that's our answer. Let's do one more just as a reminder to make sure you're feeling comfortable, okay? So let's look at number 12, okay? Number 12, not as straightforward. 7/8 minus 2/3. right? So I need to come up with my lowest common denominator. So I've got an 8 and a 3. Now I can multiply 8 times 3 and come up with 24, but I don't know that that's going to be my lowest common denominator. I'm guessing it is, but I'm going to go ahead and check. And I'm going to check with my biggest number. So I'm going to say 8 times 8 is 1. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. I know, because I know my threes, that 3 does not ever turn into an 8, right? If I do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and it never turns into a 15. 3 times nothing is 15. So 24 is my lowest common denominator. Sorry about that. Let's move that back over for you. All right, so my lowest common denominator is 24. What did I do to get 24? Well, I multiplied my 8 times 3. So I'm going to multiply my 7 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. What did I do to get my 3 into a 24? I multiplied 3 times 8. So I'm going to multiply my 2 times 8. And 2 times 8 is 16. So 24 is my denominator. 21 minus 16 is 5. And that's my answer. All right. I think you've got it. And you can do this on your own. Let me know if you need help between the hours of 9 and 1.